don't know why I was talking. Okay. Well, come on, you little mouse. Get over here. Okay. There we go. Hey, welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast with your host, Anna Nuss. It's so great to have you here. I can't even believe it. I can't believe that you're here. I can't believe that you found me, that we found each other. And I'm just so grateful for the ability to continue to show up and do this work and to be this person and to have people like you finding me every day and finding, well, what I hope you're finding, which is hope. Hope for who you were meant to be. Hope for your ability to manifest the life that you've always wanted, right? And hope that you are more than the death of your dream, because you are. I know it doesn't seem like it's possible, right? It seems like if that was going to play out, it would have happened the way that we thought of it the first time, but I know that every failure, that every bump in the road has led us beautifully to this place, and you deserve to keep writing your story even after. Yes, you have other dreams. No, you don't have to give up. No, you do not have to settle. If you're showing up as fine in your life, it's okay to want more. It's okay to put yourself back on the map. It's okay to show up today, tomorrow, every day hereafter, fighting for more. And if you need a support system, that is what the Death of a Dream community is here to be for you. Keep championing you, showing up for your life, you wanting more. And if you stumbled upon this and you're like, that's not me, I'm good here, then this definitely is not the show for you. But if you want more, if you want the dreams, even though they weren't the dreams that you saw first, right? Even though it hasn't played out the way that you always envisioned, if you want that, if you want it anyways, if you want something, this is where you need to be. We are creating a community of fiery hearts that are going to go set the world on fire and change it. That's what we're doing here. And so if that's for you, welcome. Grateful to have you. All right, let's start out the way that we start every single day, grounding ourselves in our greatness. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I talk about it on past podcasts. But if you don't, you can head over to the blog at nussync.com/blog. That's where you'll find, I wrote a story about kind of the becoming of greatness grounding and how it got started and where it started and the movement that I saw and the reasoning that I continue, and I pull this into my work today. So go ahead and go over and check that out if you want some background. But we're going to start our day grounding ourselves in our greatness. You take time to ground yourself in your greatness. It is imperative in this journey out of fine, out of good enough, out of being grateful for something that you love, but knowing that you want more. If we're transitioning out of that place, then let's go. We got to be great to do that. So that's how we start every single day. Here we go. My great thing from really Friday, I had a good week. Definitely better than the last 2 weeks where I felt like I was closer to this work. And I had a meeting with a friend this weekend and she was like, yeah, that's just I think it was a FFT that Brene Brown talks about, and like first time moments or something. I don't know. I got to look that up. I got to do a little research on it. But she was like, yeah, I mean, why do we think that we're going to be professionals and show up in this space and be like, yeah, now I'm an entrepreneur and now I'm a writer and speaker and I do that full time and boom, I'm just going to kill it, right? And I think that's always our vision. It's like, oh, I'm meant to do this, and so boom, I'm not going to have to learn a thing from here. It's all going to come to me. And it's just not true. You got to keep learning and you got to keep growing. And so I've been kind of pulling back and learning. And then I think my great thing really was from Friday. I had just kind of wore out of my home workspace, and I knew that I had a couple of blog thoughts that I wanted to get out of my head and onto paper, and these surroundings just weren't feeling inspiring anymore. And so I listened to myself, and I went ahead and went to Barnes & Noble, which I would prefer to go to a library, but none of them are open right now. So I went ahead and made my way to Barnes & Noble, and there's something about surrounding yourself with people you hope to be. Now, I can't say that any of the people who write those books are my mentors or that I know any of them, but I can say that it's still authors and writers, beings that I am an aspiring one. I know how personal it is to put your work out there. And so this podcast really has been the most personal thing that I've ever put out anywhere. And I can only imagine that my book will be the next. And so when I thank authors and people who bring their stories to life, I'm always thanking them for going through the work they had to go through to bring their work into this world, because it doesn't just happen, right? Like my journey to this place where we are standing right now happened 6 or 7 years ago. Had I not made the moves that I did then, we wouldn't be sitting right here. And so you know that there's so much background. The story is the story that's right in front of you, the book, the thing, but the moves that you had to make to even trust yourself enough to put that into the world, I think is what we need to be thanking creatives for, because that is the hard part. The easy part is having the book, right? The easy part is having the podcast that now people listen to, but the backstory, and that's what I hoped The Death of a Dream would someday be, this like beautiful story, and you didn't get to see all 6 years, but luckily you got to experience firsthand the last year. And someday I'll release the unreleased anger tapes of the first 3 months of recording. But I always wanted it to be kind of an inner light to this experience. And if nothing else, it would serve as a purpose of what you go through, as the entirety of the story. Real time, right? Day by day, me transitioning out of this moment where I had given up on myself, where I had settled for just fine, where I had felt like all you need to focus on now is being fine and grateful and move on. Just lock it in. Move up, live in between these great moments, and stop expecting so much. And I couldn't do it anymore. It was a lie. It wasn't who I wanted to show up in this world as. And so that's what this journey has been. The journey out of that place, out of not feeling satisfied and not doing anything about it. And so here we are. So my great thing was really, I don't know where we went from there, but okay, let's bring it all back. My great thing was actually listening to myself and giving myself what I asked for. I was asking for just a different space, for a different environment, for a different vibe, and my vibe here is perfectly fine. It just felt like I needed something else. And so I went to that environment. I surrounded myself with people doing the work that I want to do, and not even cracking open a book, I felt inspired. I felt the energy of art and creation, and it felt amazing. And after that, boom, ding, 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 I get out to my car because I got kicked out because you can only sit at the tables for 30 minutes. And let me tell you how long a blog post takes. Longer than 30 minutes, generally. So I had overstayed my welcome and I got ushered out, which is fine. I didn't get, no one walked me out, but they were like, ma'am, we have a 30-minute policy on this table. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll get up. Anyways, whatever. Okay, so I got out to my car and I sat there, and I had been that week kind of trying to come up with a query. When you submit a book to a publisher, you have to have a query, which is like how you sell your book. It's like your book's elevator speech. And I had been working on the Death of a Dream book, live form of if I could inclusively collect what this last year has been, what would it be? And boom, the query just flowed out of me like nothing. I couldn't even believe it. And I think it was just about, trusting and challenging what we've been told our whole lives, which is don't listen to yourself. They don't know well enough. You don't know, and you do. So just listen to her. She's telling you, right? And so, boom, that flowed out of me. I put that query together. I submitted it to a couple of friends who are hopefully making some edits on it and changes, because it wasn't perfect, but it definitely was a lot closer. And then this weekend, I felt a flow. I had been thinking about what season 2 was going to be, because on Friday, the 17th, we will be on 1 year of posting and publishing this podcast. And so, that brings us to season 2. And I don't know exactly what season 2 will unfold, but my hopes is that we get to kind of fill in the blank of that question of can you? Is hustling enough? Is having a passion? Is having a dream in your heart? Is showing up and just doing that work? Is that enough? And I'm starting to see the effects of that work and how powerful that is and how possible it is. And so I'm hoping season 2 really will be able to start writing new pages to this story. And I'm so excited to live that with you. And so part of that is submitting for the book version of this. And I'm really excited about that. But I think more than anything, my great thing, it should be the book query, because trust, I was struggling with that. But my great thing out of all of that was that I listened to myself. Great that I got the query done. I'm so excited to have checked that box, but I'm more proud of myself for just listening and not forcing myself into space that my body and mind were calling me out of. Dang, mic drop. So take time today to practice your own greatness. Start saying it out loud. Say it to a friend, say it to a spouse, say it to your kids. I don't care. Say it to anyone, but get confident. Say it to yourself, for goodness sakes. Get confident and start speaking to that narrative of greatness. It's imperative. Narrative. The narrative's imperative. The narrative's imperative. You have to be in control of it. You have to be in control of it. The narrative's imperative. The narrative's imperative. Start speaking your truth. You're great. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're strong. You're going to change the world. That's all. You control the narrative. So start taking control of it and start calling greatness into your life, because you're doing that work every day. We just don't speak to it. I'm making you speak to it. Go do it. Okay. Thank you. Let's dive in. Okay. So we are kind of on part 3 of the story that led me to go all in on my dreams. And so I had started with I started asking for signs, right? And I started getting them in traditional spaces. So this is the non-traditional sign that I was getting. Okay? I took you through the traditional, blah, 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 was told that I would get fired. And, I was dumb, so I don't think it was wrong. But on my part, I was asking for those signs. So, I remember calling my friend Brittany and being like, Brittany, you think this is the sign? Right when COVID happened, I remember calling her and she's like, well, and I was like, yeah, you're right. That probably isn't right. Probably not. But, I was asking for those signs so readily. So here's the crazier universe signs that I can put out there. So, the day, and I don't know that Erica knows this, so this is kind of funny. And Erica is one of my first and favorite listeners because she is inevitably the reason that this very podcast exists. She was the first one to kind of find it on her own, and then actually reach out and tell me to keep going and tell me how much it impacted her life. And so Erica doesn't know this, so this is funny, but the day that I was going to resign, Jordan, my husband, had woke up that morning and he said, Hannah, just resign, but you have to make money doing this. You have to be able to make money. And so I was like, he's like, just show me you can make money. That's all I need. Just show me you can do that. And that day, probably 2 hours before I was going to submit my resignation, and Jordan had said that morning, I just need to see that you can make money. I just have to see it. And that day, Erica Venmo'd me $55. And she had put the tag get yourself some coffee. You are changing the world. You're changing mine. Whatever. And I instantly Venmo'd her back 50 of the 55 because I was like, hey, Erica, coffee here where I live is not $55. So I'll assume that this was incorrect. So here's your 50 back, right? But that $5 was the very sign and my confidence walking into that room to give that up and get it, right? Obviously my family needs more than $5 to eat tomorrow, but that $5 in that exact moment proved that I could make money doing this. And in fact, I had just made my first dollar. In fact, I had made $4 over what I needed to show Jordan. Right? He said, just make $1. And so it's seemingly small, but it was this moment, this perfectly timed moment when I was just like, you know what? Yep. I made money. Here you go, Jordan. I know it's only $5, but this is a thing. This is real. This is possible. And so that happened. That morning before Jordan had said that, I had said, I just need a sign. I just need a sign. I just need a sign that it's going to be okay. That this is the ultimate faith journey to me. I'm really trusting here that this is the path that I'm supposed to go down. And so I just am going to need signs along the way. Please help me. Please tell me. Please. And that day, I was coming home and I see this beautiful cardinal fly by. And my mom, my whole life, had always told me if you see a bright bird, a cardinal specifically, money's coming. Money's coming. Money's coming. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. And so that day I had put in my month's notice that I was going to resign from my job. And every day after putting in that notice, I would see a cardinal. Not like on a TV or in a card or I remember one day specifically, and it was probably about 20 days in, and I was like, oh, okay, you're not sending a Cardinal today. And I'm driving, and I'm going to pick up pizza, and I'm thinking this like, oh, you're not going to show me a Cardinal. Ha, ha, ha. La, la, la. Good job. This was all a joke. I get it. And I kind of just glance over, and there's this Cardinal just perched on this fence right as I'm having this thought, and it's just watching me as I'm driving. And I know it seems so crazy, right? And that's how you feel when you're getting these signs, and especially when you're getting them over and over and over, and it's like a physical space, and you're like, no, my neck's seizing, that can't be a sign. No, my heart freezing up and going crazy can't be a sign. No, all these Cardinals, right, can't be a sign. And probably 5 days after I had seen that, and I had been seeing Cardinals over and over, I had had this opportunity to step in and to start making money, doing something, coaching, as I had already been. And I had kind of talked about this as it was happening, but not to these bounds. So I'm sitting there, and I told Jordan that morning, nope, this is what's supposed to happen. I'm supposed to coach. I could see this playing out. I could do this. You know what? I'm going to kind of pitch what I envision and what I want to do, and I could do that for the entire community. That's what I could do. And this is so beyond high level crazy. And I'm going to say it anyways. And I realize some people who know me are going to be a little fearful, but this is what happened. This is actually play by play of what happened. And so I'm like, I'm going to coach, I'm going to do that. And in my mind, I'm like, Hannah, this is giving up freedom that you're trying to leave your job to get. You realize that this is going to work you back into that space, right? This is going to steal what you've been asking for. And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the person, and they're offering me the job, and they're offering everything that I'm asking for. And I look up, and there's this, I'm sitting in this open window space, and there's this overhang to the building that I'm sitting in. And all of a sudden, this Cardinal flies into the overhang. And as I'm about to say yes, this Cardinal gets stuck in the overhang. There's an overhang, it kind of goes up, and it kind of gets stuck up there. And it's just fluttering. And right in that moment, I'm like, that's it. Yes, this is going to give you money, but it's going to stick you right where you're trying to leave. You can't do it. You can't. And so I say no to that opportunity. And even though that opportunity would have been, in my mind, everything that I could and should probably want, right? And it could have led to all these other things, but it was going back, right? And that Cardinal was just showing me right in that moment, girl, no, don't go back. Don't go back now. I am telling you, I am giving you signs every single day. Are you paying attention to them? Are you listening to them? Are you going to follow this, or are you going to ignore it? And boom, this Cardinal flies in, and it shows me exactly what choosing this is going to look like for me. It is going to be no different. And you want that, right? You want that because it feels safe and secure. But I'm asking you, I'm giving you signs to have faith, to follow this. You asked for the signs, and I have given them to you. Are you going to follow? Or are you going to stay stuck? Because this is the sign. This is the Cardinal. But it's going to stay stuck. And the second that I said, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. The Cardinal finds its way out and frees itself. And I can't. So many people were like, that path makes sense. Go down that path. That path is safe. And it just didn't. And it was super hard to pass up that opportunity. To pass up that opportunity to win. Because I knew that it was a guaranteed win. I knew that it was guaranteed money. I knew that it was a guarantee, right? But there was still just this piece of me that knew that if I didn't go all in, I would never get to do it. And so I had to say no to some things. I had to listen to those signs. And the day of my last day, I would be served my last Cardinal, and I haven't seen one since. Like, how does that happen? And no, that's a lie. I saw a whole pack of baby cardinals. Okay, this is just weird. I was like, I had prayed that day, like, please, I know. And last week I had told you about this struggle where I was just trying to figure out how to make money and I wasn't staying true to what I even wanted. And so I had to call myself back. And that day, it was probably a Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. That weekend, I was doing dishes and on our entire walkway were a bunch of baby cardinals eating something. I have no idea what. Seriously. A bunch of them. Like, I don't even know why there would be that many cardinals. I don't know. But a bunch of tiny little baby cardinals. I don't know. They're probably teenage birds because they can fly. So they're probably not babies. Sorry. But I see all of them just out there eating. And I'm like, okay. You're right. This has always been a faith journey. I have been asking every day since you called me and you gave me this sign. And the last time that you did that, the last time that I had to leave, the only thing that I knew about myself and that felt so scary, that was volleyball. You didn't mislead me, right? That removing myself from that gave me time to do this, gave me time to focus my energy towards this. And that was a faith journey too. It was hard to leave something that you win at. And I just knew, and I've gotten a sign every time. So every Sunday now for the past 3 weekends, every Sunday or Saturday, every weekend, I've been served a rainbow. And my mom had always told us growing up that just meant everything was going to be okay. Like, that was just always our sign growing up, that there was hope, that we should have peace. And these rainbows have come out of nowhere. Like, it'll be a perfect day. Like, I was driving home last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, and it was a perfect day. Beautiful. And I'm driving home and this rainbow appears out of nowhere. Nowhere. Right? And so I just have to keep trusting. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I just know. You don't get called this hard to do something that is not meant for you. And I think a lot of times we want to ignore it, right? We're told to not trust that. And I truly believe that you can fully trust. And so this is kind of the close of the story that led me to go all in on my dreams. And I hope that you find yourself in this place someday and that this story helps you to trust yourself, to trust the signs, and just to trust the knowing in your heart, because that really is the only thing that I had and is still the only thing I have now. And so it's okay to trust her. She knows. And if you're asking for signs, you can trust those too. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Okay, we're going to record the intro. Here it comes. We do it backwards because we never know what we're going to talk about here. Hey, we are wrapping on part 3, and this is where the story gets a little bit crazy, okay? It involves nature and the universe and God and all the things, and it's the truest form of faith and just believing and trusting and knowing and just continuing on even when it seems like you don't know where that next turn is going to lead you. It's okay to keep trusting what you're asking for, to keep trusting the signs. And this is the final piece of that story and all of the kind of things that led up to me just truly believing and having faith that this is the path. This is where we're supposed to go. And, that journey is still unfolding right in front of all of us. You have been hearing what the transition into this new place would look like and how that plays out. You've been hearing that in real time over the last 3 weeks of okay, now we've gone all in. Okay. I think so many times it's okay, now hurry up and make money. Okay, now hurry up and do this thing. And I've just always known, right, that I was so blessed to be taught by things that didn't require money. And so I just don't ever want it to be about that. If all of the gifts that I can bring to this world can help save you from something, because it shouldn't be pay to play, right? And that's why I wanted this podcast to live, because it's gosh, even if you had nothing, you could find this podcast and you could find hope. And for me, that's what I was saved by, right? I had nothing but a book that I was given for my wedding and the knowledge in my own head and this book. And that would be a Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. And that would so drastically change my life and allow me to show up for the things that I wanted and not just the things that were assigned to me. And that journey started almost 7 years ago now. And that one would make me question and show up for more. And I would grow in that journey more and more every day. And that's why I want to stand here and do what I'm doing. Because I truly believe in the power of words and their ability to change the world. And I truly believe that if you want more for your life, you deserve it. And you shouldn't only get more because you can pay for more. I want to create a world where it isn't pay to play, where you don't have to have a big name or big money to go do the things in your heart. Right? And that's the story that I'm telling. And so this is the wrap of part 3. This is where it gets a little wonky, where I really trust and go all in. And so I hope that you enjoy the final 3-part series of how I decided to go all in on my dreams. Thank you for being here. Please connect with me if there's anything that you need in this world. If you just need to hear that you are enough and that your dreams deserve you, then I want to be that person for you. Please reach out. I would love to hear from you. Let's dive in.